Hi viewers, this is Aijaz Qureshi from Toronto, Canada with today's The Daydreamer Show. Today our topic is Pakistani women working remotely for international clients. That's our topic. We're going to talk about it. Our esteemed guest to shed some light on the topic is Lisa Canning. Lisa Canning is originally from Chicago, Illinois, USA, and she's living there. She helps the startups and small business owners to find new customers, new channels, and where they can market. And also, she finds the investment for those clients. She's a chief believer at Women Making Change Happen. She's executive board member at Illinois Business Innovation Association. She's advisor at Clarinet Designer. She is a founder and CEO at Sana Cells. She is VP of Education at Crowdfund Capital Advisors. She's co-founder at iaeou. I don't know what it stands for, but we'll figure it out as soon as she comes with us. She's co-curator at the Entrepreneur the Arts. She is also a chief Clarinet Picker at Lisa Clarinet Shop. So let's welcome our guest, Lisa Canning.
Nice to meet you. I'm so happy to be here.
Lisa, welcome to the show.
So happy to be here.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So since today is 9/11, before we get any further, I would like to suggest a 1-minute silence to pay tribute to the dead in 9/11 incident and peace and blessings to be sent to all the families affected all over the world, wherever they live. Our hearts are with them. Our souls are with them. May peace be upon everyone. 1-minute silence. Okay, all right. So that was a tribute to the people affected by 9/11. We're back into the show, and today's topic is all about finding work remotely and how Pakistani women are associated with Lisa Canning and how they found a job. What are they doing for international clients? How are they getting into the job market? And what is the impact on the clients' work that are hiring these women from Pakistan? And I believe last time when I got that information, I think there were 60 women hired by Lisa Canning who are working for international clients. That's a big number. It's not a small number. And so let's figure it out if that number is still 60 or it has grown up since then. So Lisa, I know I did a little introduction, but I'm not sure if I did justice to that. I know you did more than that. So where all this started, how did you get inspired? Who was around you, who inspired you to do all this, what you do today? So would you like to please share that with our viewers?
Sure. Thank you for such a wonderful introduction. And I would also like to thank you for your minute of silence. I am a firm believer that the world can be a prosperous and safer place, and that one of the keys to doing that and to having things like the horrors of 9/11 to never happen again is through entrepreneurship and through helping more people find ways to be able to support themselves. And that's something that I've been a firm believer of for most of my life. My parents and my uncles and aunts were all self-employed people. And I, as a young person, grew up believing and seeing that you can become anybody you want to be if you associate yourself with people who are doing the things you wish you could do and that you aspire to. And so that very basic rule of being around 5 people that are closest to you that are doing great things is really important in life. So you always, always, always have to reach for the stars, whether they be your family or your friends, and find people who are really inspiring to you to be your friends. And with that, I really learned that I could build and be who I wanted to be. So my first love was in music and to play the musical instrument, the clarinet. And if you go to lisasclarinetshop.com, the music you hear is me playing, because music soothes the soul and it opens us up to something we all are familiar with. It's a part of humanity. It's as simple as our heartbeat. Music is the most basic thing that we know, and is very primitive in many ways, but also joins us and brings us together in profound ways through a nonverbal form. And so when I began to do that, I was questioned very quickly about, well, how will you survive being a musician? And it's very difficult to earn a living. And while I excelled at it, I realized that there are so many people in this world in pain and so many people who need help, that if I transformed that passion into a business and used it with purpose, that I could make more musicians who had more empathy for more people, and also I could make a living while doing that. So my first business was started at the age of 17 from my dorm room at Northwestern University. And it was servicing my colleagues and my collaborators in music and helping them find equipment and buy things. And that business expanded from an experiment to see if I could actually sustain a business into a much larger business that employed over 50 people over a 20-year period of time.
Wow.
Yeah. And so you never know where life's going to lead you, but you always have to be willing to take a leap and trust that your instincts are good, and if they're not, that you'll wind up back on your feet anyways.
That's right. That's true. That's true. Now, that's amazing. That's amazing. The music is really a great thing that connects people across boundaries, and so music beyond boundaries. It's always like that. So thank you so much. So how did you start the entrepreneur side? Like, you connected with the entrepreneurs and you wanted to help them to find funding, to find resources, people, everything you do for them. How did that side of the business started?
Well, it's not something as a young person that you think you have innate skills that someone who is much more mature would value. But we all have special gifts that people of any age can benefit from if we accept that we can have great strength even at young stages in our careers. So one of the things that happened to me along my career trajectory with my music shop that grew into a $12 million venture was that I had many people who would approach me and say, I really want to start this. Can you help me? Or I really want to expand this. Would you help me? I had customers as well as employees coming to me saying, I really appreciate this opportunity or your help, but can you help me do this or that? And over a 10-year period of time, I started to realize that whether I paid them or not, people seemed to value what I had to bring to the table outside of my employment and the work that we were doing. And it dawned on me that maybe that was a whole separate business that I had never thought of as being a business. And so when I sold a huge chunk of that business off and downsized it into just a little clarinet shop, because we sold many instruments, not just clarinets, when my business grew to be quite large, I decided to start an incubator for the creative sector. Anybody who thought of themselves as being an original, anybody who had a creative idea, or perhaps even a small start to a business. And I helped them build sales and new channels to market. And one of my main reasons for doing that was that I had been an employer and had paid people for so long that I wanted to know if they would actually pay me for those services, as well, because I had done them just really for free for people and helping people out for a long time, as well as to see if I could build a rigorous curriculum that I could validate as being good and that would work. I was successful at recruiting two colleagues from the University of Illinois into my research project, and they helped observe the curriculum I designed, and they became very invested and curious about how it worked and the potential it had. So they were so kind to write some academic papers that they included me in that resulted in several different educational publications, including the U.S. Small Business Administration recognizing our curriculum as being a very hot, promising model for entrepreneurs looking for sales and new channels to market. And that sprungboarded me into some global opportunities actually to speak. I wound up being recognized by the White House and invited to Kenya to speak at the 6th Annual Entrepreneurship Summit, which elevated my status from being just a local Main Street entrepreneur into someone who had something to say, which was kind of cool for me. And that sprungboarded me into a variety of other conversations that brought me to Crowdfund Capital Advisors. So, you know, sometimes it's passion and a love for things that your determination and will to do them will bring people's attention to you that you never thought was possible to achieve. And totally, I did not see any of this coming. I just knew that I wanted to work on things that mattered to me. And so it was when I met Crowdfund Capital Advisors that we started to work on some projects for the International Development Bank, as well as for the World Bank, addressing issues of how do you help entrepreneurs to raise capital. And because I had been academically recognized for my education programming, they had me work on developing creative and interesting programming for entrepreneurs in other countries who don't always have access to really good teachers, don't always have access to all the resources they need other than online tools, and need help to be able to do and raise funds. And through that, I started to see that the work that I had done prior to that in sales and trying to help people get channels to market was actually a critical component of the fundraising piece. Because typically what happens with entrepreneurs, they have a great idea, they test it out a few times and get people excited about it. And they think, great, I can raise money for this now, no problem. It should be really easy. But most investors want to see that you have a repeatable process that is not dependent on the founder's persuasion and not dependent on exception after exception to actually close the deal. And so that Sana Cells, the business that we've created now working with all these women in Pakistan, addresses this huge one piece, which is let's help founders get a bigger, better start on trying to grow their sales and outsource their sales force when they can afford it the least, to be able to get those investors to really feel comfortable that when they put their money into those businesses, they're going to be successful with the funds that they are given to do that. The other thing that I learned from Crowdfund Capital Advisors was that a lot of times, if you don't have a big network, it's really challenging to raise money because not everyone knows a lot of wealthy people, including myself. I don't know that many wealthy people. I'm increasingly knowing more of them, but most people don't have just a huge network of wealthy friends. So one of the nice things about unaccredited crowdfunding, which is what Crowdfund Capital Advisors did, they made huge, substantial changes to our regulation around who can invest in a small business. And they made it possible for the average person who has less than $1 million in assets to invest in a business like mine or an idea you might have or anyone else's through what they call unaccredited crowdfunding. And so that beautiful thing means that you can invest in the United States up to $5,000 into anyone that you believe in. And in return for that, there is transparent reporting, which means that unlike if you loan me money and you'd wonder, oh my God, am I ever going to see that money back? Or what's going on with the money I gave to her? It's required that everything I do with it and all the progress I'm making and profit I'm making or losses that I'm incurring are publicly walled off for only investors, but can be seen, which makes it very, very much more exciting and easy to have a difficult conversation with your friend about the money that they were given, because now you have facts to back it up.
Right. Right.
So that intersection between sales and raising money really is a very important bridge, because it all involves building more connectivity and more leads. And that's where the Pakistani ladies that we work with now are so incredibly important, because you need to do a lot of research. Most entrepreneurs don't realize how much research is involved in finding and hunting down your tribe, your people. Those individuals that are going to like you, want to know you, and are going to come to trust you. And it's through that process of finding out who they are and building relationships with them that you can build a meaningful asset or a meaningful group of individuals who will want to invest in you, who will want to buy from you, and who will want to help you. And so once I realized from my work with Crowdfund Capital Advisors and my work for my incubator how important sales and relationship building really was to not only fundraising but business success, it made it a no-brainer to try to figure out how I could provide a low-cost but robust and savvy way to help entrepreneurs accomplish those goals. It was completely by accident that I met my co-founder who was in Lahore, Pakistan, Sana Umar. And that relationship was built through Rehan Aliwala. I was attending a conference and I met Rehan Aliwala, and he sat me down at a table and said, "You're interesting. I would like to record a video." And I'm like, okay. And he said, "If you'll just open up all your feed on Facebook," because at that time I had all my relationships very shut down, meaning nobody could see anything, and it was just my little circle of 10 friends or however many I had, 300 or something. He said, "If you'll open it all up, I bet you'll get 1,000 followers." And I was like, 1,000 followers? I thought, wow, this guy's really connected. So he did this little video and he posted it on his page. And within a week, I had like 4,000 more followers. And on my Entrepreneur the Arts page, within 3 or 4 months, I had 150,000 more followers from Pakistan.
Yeah.
Rehan Aliwala is the most connected person on the planet. I am absolutely convinced.
Absolutely.
It was just amazing. In fact, I think he may have introduced us even.
Absolutely.
Just breathtaking. And so as a result of those contacts that came to me, so few of those individuals actually were willing to publicly talk to me on Facebook and say, "Who are you?" and to comment on some of my posts. But one of the people who did that was Sana Umar. She started to post and started to take notice. And what I noticed about her was how remarkable she was at being willing to interact with me in a public way and her sincerity in wanting to get to know me. And that caused me to reach out to her privately and say, "Hey, what are you doing for work? Who are you? Tell me more about you." And we started to have regular conversations, both publicly, mostly publicly, and sometimes privately, about her work and what she was doing in her life and kind of just getting to know her. And over the course of 3 or 4 months, I thought, this would be a woman who could really take on this challenge, potentially, of helping me build an education platform to help women become more skilled, and also ultimately, if they do well at it, hire them to do lead generation for us. And we began with some very simple things because I didn't know Sana that well. So we started working on just social media, because a huge part of lead generation is being able to be very savvy about social media and then taking it much further, because you have to do a lot of hunting and digging digitally, and social media teaches you a lot of the foundation work to be able to do that. So we started off with just doing those kinds of things together for my own businesses, because I thought, I can use more lead generation. She can help me. And she easily, over a 9-month period of time, showed me not only her skill level, but her work ethic. One of the things that really impressed me about her, and has impressed me to this day about all the women we hire, is their responsiveness, their willingness to understand that American standards and culture is different than theirs, and that it requires a different level of not only attention, but of commitment. And she just was so impressive with how responsive she was to me that I thought, okay, we can take this a step further. And so after about 9 months, I said, Sana, how would you feel about starting a business with me? And just by sheer coincidence, and life is full of coincidences that you have to seize the moment on, her entire department at work that she ran and had been successfully receiving awards for and recognition was completely eliminated. She was actually completely out of a job. And wow. That perfect moment was my opportunity to say, let's go. And she said, okay. And we started to build an education program, an online education program that to this day, you can either complete with us for free, or better, you can go through loop.org, an NGO we're working with in Lahore, that is a remarkable program that will help create the entire woman's persona, help her really understand the psychology of the work that we're trying to do, and really help them to be a full person. But it costs a few bucks, costs a few dollars. Either one of those two, and we provide this training to help them be employable. They successfully can come through that training and test out. They're tested at the end. If they pass our test, they're invited into an intern program where they're paid a little bit of money. And if they do well on the intern program, where they're working with real clients that we have in the US, they start getting paid a little bit more money, and they get asked to take on a little bit more responsibility. Typically, the women that work for us work anywhere from 5 to 15 hours a week from home. Some of them might work, our cap out is sort of at 20, because we respect the culture there and know that for women to be working from their home is a big step forward. And what we'd really like to see happen is for men to embrace that and be comfortable with the women being able to do that work while they care for their families and they take care of their children. And we also know how empowering it is for women to have a source of income and something that they're doing for their family that otherwise wouldn't be there for them if it wasn't coming from what their efforts would yield.
Right.
And we're very proud of the work we're doing to not only raise self-esteem, but to create a culture of unity and working together and compassion and empathy and helping each other. And that's what's so amazing about these women, is that they want to help each other and they want to see the success. And I cannot tell you and how touching it is that my other partner in this business, Heather McNeese, who is our head of operations for Sana Cells, how many times our breath is taken away by women who send us the most lovely notes saying, "You're changing my life. I can't believe I didn't know about you till now. This is so awesome. I feel so different about who I am. And I love all these women." And it goes on and on and on. And it is just a remarkable feeling to be not only helping your clients to achieve their own results in the US by finding them the highest quality leads, but also to make these women feel so powerful while they're doing it.
Great. Question for you. So you said you kind of cap it out to 20 hours per week kind of thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, if there are girls, right, youth, and they're not married, they have full-time available, but they can't find the job, or they don't want to go out in the field and work outside, can they still find a job with you guys that they can do like 40 hours a week kind of thing?
We're not there yet as a business. I think that really, I can't answer that question properly yet until some of our big plans we have in the works come to fruition, and we have the unbelievable amount of business that I think we are going to have. I am concerned in general because we also employ US moms here on this side that do demo appointment setting, cold calling, that help act as outsourced sales support. We have a similar philosophy on this side, that we want people to have a balance in life, and we feel it's important that they start to learn to work more smartly, to be able to earn more income in less time, not necessarily to burn them out, because I know as a founder how susceptible I am to burnout. I run 3 different startups and have a variety of other things that I do. And I don't have kids at home, but I know how much pressure it is and what a weight it is. And I think that there is a better way forward. It's not to say we don't want to employ people 40 hours, because 40 hours in my schedule is nothing. You can double that and you're closer to what I'm working. So I don't think 40 hours is too many. It's that it has to be built on, like the foundation of a relationship. You know, the more that you're doing something you love, you always have to be thinking, is this all, or does it need to have a few other components? And so my questions are really going to be about, is this the best thing for you and your family as we continue to grow? And I think that if you can answer that well, that the right things come to you.
Good. So next burning question would be that, okay, now you take on to someone and they're willing to work. what is an average rate? Now, you don't have to be specific on the rates, but again, if you can give an idea that per hour, how much money in terms of Pak rupees or in terms of dollars, these people who work for you remotely will be making.
So in a part-time basis, we figured that once they get to the point where they're working 20 hours a week, that they'll probably be making $200 to $300 US working from home a month. Okay. And that it's on their own time, and that they don't really have a set work schedule, in that they have client deliverables, but those client deliverables are on a weekly basis, which means that they work together to achieve them, but they still are in control of their schedules. So it's one of those things where they spend most of their time doing research and helping each other find research and find targets. The benefit to our US clients is that, unlike databases that we sell leads from, where emails can bounce and where you don't have the titles or the right person, or you have a specific list that you're looking for that has a few different data fields that are outside the normal search area where you can't get that data. We can provide very customized searches because our ladies rock it, right? And they're able to find all kinds of things. We use over 100 different tools that are available to our ladies to be able to find information, which Sana Umar has been remarkable at assembling. And the ladies also work in cohorts or small groups where they have a manager that's over them to make sure that everything's checked and worked on together. So, it's a really great work from home job that requires, yes, a fair amount of skill. We are still really working hard and would love to partner and find other organizations that will help us get more ladies prepared for this work. We are very proud of the number of women we've trained, less excited about the number who have not been able to succeed, because we want them all to succeed, even Absolutely. If they wind up finding other jobs and not working with us.
Right.
And so we are in the early stages of trying to find, this business isn't that old. We're just a couple years old. And so we're in the early stages of trying to find partners that will really help us pre-train women so that when they come to us, they're more ready. Because this is so much past social media, that social media is a good start, but it's not enough if they're just learning it for the first time.
Yeah.
To get over the hump with us.
That's
and also the work ethic issue. The work ethic challenge is not just a challenge that is in Pakistan. It's also a U.S. challenge. There are many lazy people all over the world, and laziness is not a third world problem. It is a global problem. And trying to help people become engaged and connected to themselves and what they're passionate about doing certainly helps.
Great. Awesome. So we are coming to the end of our show. What would be your message for the youth? Because this show is for the youth empowerment. So what would be your message to the youth?
My message to anyone listening today is that failure is to be embraced. And when you fail, you have an opportunity, a real opportunity to succeed. I have never achieved anything of any consequence without a million failures, what felt like a million failures before I got to that moment.
Right.
And so it's really important that you seek out opportunities that will teach you and not shame you for failing, and that will allow you to get up and try again, and that you hang out and embrace people who treat you that way. Because if anybody ever tells you because you failed, you don't mean anything and you're not important or you don't amount to anything, the only thing you should be thinking when that person says that is, this is a reflection on you and not me, because that isn't a winning strategy or attitude. And all you have to do is type in failure and start looking up famous names to find out very quickly that anybody who's achieved anything of great success has failed more than they have won. And that is how they became the winner that they are.
Absolutely. Great. Thank you so much for that. On behalf of the Dreams Television, the Daydreamer Show, myself, all the viewers who have watched or will be watching later on because of their schedules, thank you so much for being with us. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. Have a wonderful day, and God bless America and the world.
Thank you. Take care.